This lock right here. What up, Kia?
LCH. At lock 121.
Get the check out like a physical. We get the checks in the Cheerios. Counting like chocolate cereal. We need the fun and residual. We get the money and flip it, cause we gotta get it. We talking finances, funding and grant biz. Getting and making advances, taking chances with the hot topics. Racism, politics, non-profits. Kia Croom, she gon' drop knowledge. Whatever you want, the pod got it. Get your facts right. Deep dive and get baptized. Black business, black life, black money, black power, black pride. And the POCs tryna see those V's like casinos. Sitting on TOP, we just spitting our POV. We gon' ride till we on E. We pushing the pedal, we over the limit. We never gon' settle, we been with the business. Every episode is gon' be the realest. Every week you gotta pay us a visit. Come on and hang, hot as a flame. Hating is lame, taking the aim. Changing the game, stay in our lane. Breaking the chains, making it rain. Making it hurricane. Kia Croom, now you heard the name. The Black Fundraisers podcast, that's on everything.
Hey there, it's your favorite fundraiser, Kia Croom here, the founder and host of your favorite podcast, the Black Fundraisers podcast, that is. How y'all doing out there? I hope everybody is got a good start to their week. And as usual, per usual, I am stopping by with a word and some helpful tips and guidance for those fundraisers who are navigating the market, looking for their next opportunity. I am joined by Dr. Tiffany Slater. She is the CEO of HR Tailor Made, and she and I are here to dish what are those questions you want to be asking when you are interviewing your next employer, because I want to be very, very clear. We give so much time and so much of our brain trust to these spaces, right? These spaces where we are employed, where we work. Not only are we bringing our brain trust, we're bringing our lived experiences as Black fundraisers. And not only that, you know, that remarkable brain trust, but we also extend ourselves both professionally and personally as part of this work. So Dr. Slater is here. Dr. Slater, welcome to the Black Fundraisers podcast.
Kia, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to have this conversation with you.
I'm excited to have you here. And I don't think that, well, for those who do not know, I am going to share that this episode is brought to you by Etutu Apothecary and Tea Room. Yes, you can be more than one thing. You can do more than one thing. Yes, I am a global social justice fractional fundraising executive. But yes, I'm also a folk herbalist. And yes, I own an apothecary and tea room. And yes, I create handcrafted artisan teas that are wellness teas that have medicinal benefits. You can check out Etutu Apothecary and Tea Room at it looked like we got a spelling error there. Look, I'm going to take that down and I'm going to put the right one up. www.etutuapothecary.com. And I am excited to share with you all that the grand opening of the Uhuru Liberatory Tea Room is taking place this Saturday. We're having a speakeasy event and just really kicking off the grand opening of this phenomenal space, a tea room that I've created specifically for creatives, nonprofit professionals, philanthropy professionals, social justice leaders, DEI professionals, anybody that's doing the work of moving communities. You're welcome to have an experience there in the Uhuru Liberatory Tea Room. So without further ado, let's get into this conversation. So Dr. Slater, I need to know, just generally speaking, I know you're not a fundraiser, but I know you've seen all kinds of situations pertaining to, folks navigating organizational cultures, or perhaps you work with organizations and, perhaps you work with them in creating more inclusive cultures. Talk to us a little bit about your work, what that looks like.
Well, as an HR professional, obviously we sit in the seat that is very much responsible for the culture. We're not primarily responsible for it, but it is our role to ensure that we create policies that support the culture that we want that we want our team members to experience in the organization. So I can definitely appreciate this conversation because there are a multitude of questions that we should be asking when we are interviewing our next employer, as you said, because it is a two-way street. We do have a choice as to who we work with and for. And we also have a choice as to who we stay with.
Absolutely.
So, yes.
Absolutely.
So it's important that we do our homework. It's important that we understand who we are getting into a relationship with, because our employer, I mean, it could be our husband, right? For some of us that work really hard and really appreciate the fact that we are doing something meaningful, and it definitely makes a difference for other people.
Absolutely.
So we have to do our homework, and that's why I think this conversation is very important.
So what does that homework look like? Like, I can talk to you from a fundraiser's perspective. So there's the rudimentary kinds of things that if I'm looking for my next fundraising role, right? I'm looking at things like the organization, what their mission is, right? Obviously, I'm looking at what financial information is available regarding that organization, whether I'm looking at, their 990, right, with their tax returns. I'm looking at who has previously given to this organization, what information is public knowledge, right? And trying to assess the financial position of the organization. I am also looking at their staffing composition. For me, what composition of that team is people of color, right? Primarily, people from racialized communities. Who am I talking about? Black, brown, and indigenous folks, right? I'm looking at what that staffing design looks like, but I'm looking at what that staffing composition, looks like. But I'm also interested in what that composition looks like in terms of the board and leadership. I'm looking for clues to inclusivity, right? I'm looking for those harbingers, but understanding that those are not always, harbingers that we should assume, okay, it's going to be gravy over here, right? I ask questions.
Yes.
As I want to know.
Yes.
About that culture, about how decisions are made, about how, just protocols and things. What kinds of questions should we be asking?
Well, the first thing that we should do is we need to know what type of culture we want to work in. We got to start there. We can't just assume that we're going to find the right organization to work with without having done the work internally first. So we need to understand what types of work environments do we thrive in? Do we thrive in spaces where laughter is a normal, natural part of the day? Do we thrive in spaces where music is allowed? Do we thrive in spaces where it has to be quiet and sterile? Those are things that impact the culture. Do we thrive in spaces where Fridays is a no meeting day? We have to know all the things that are important for us to be successful and that are important for us to show up as we are, right? So that's the first step. The second thing is check out their social media, just like they're going to do for you. Look at their social media. Do their posts demonstrate the type of work culture or values that are important to you as an individual? For example, if the organization is a service providing nonprofit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who are they serving? Are they serving the type of individuals that you are most passionate about? Or are they serving the types of individuals that reflect who you are? And does that matter to you? For some people, it doesn't matter. They just want to be a part of an organization that is helping people, period, right?
I
So,
like it.
yeah, you have to understand what that looks like. The other thing that's important for me when I'm checking out social media for organizations, and honestly, as a consultant, before I choose to work with a company, I look at their social media because that's important to me. Look at their social media. Are they posting about their employees? Are they posting what the employee experience is and how it works or how it feels to work there? That may be important to you and it may not be. But an organization that is really, really serious about the employee experience, they talk about it. They share what it looks like to be a part of them, and they are always marketing to their next employee,
Mm-hmm.
just like they market to their next individuals that they are
Yeah.
hoping to serve, or their
Mhm.
next group of funders, right? So those things are important also.
I love that. So what I'm hearing is that you're recommending, because we're going to do a recap for the good people out there, to make sure that they have it in 3D, what these tips you're recommending are, right? What I'm hearing you say is that we should be checking social media, which, yeah, I do. I'm looking on your LinkedIn. I'm looking on, sometimes I look at Facebook, Instagram, to particularly to see, how people are engaging with the organization's page, particularly donors, volunteers, staffers, etc. Yeah, I'm looking at that. I mean, I might even put, do a hashtag search of some sort, right? That's definitely part of my research, but it sounds like you're saying for values alignment in terms of the causes that are important to you. But not only that, it sounds like you're saying to get like some social proof,
Correct.
in terms of what the user, and when I say user, what the people that are working there are experiencing, right? Or what people who are working there are saying,
Correct.
right?
Mhm.
About what's going on there.
Yeah, that's really important because I don't know about you, but when I like something or I'm excited about something, I talk about it, right? I want everybody to know how awesome it is. And so we want to see what
Absolutely.
team members are saying. More importantly, we want to see what the organization is saying. Is it of value to them? Is it important enough to the organization that they are talking about it? That's important too. So I think that those are two good places to start. One, know what you want in an organizational culture. And two, look at their, as you said, Kia, look at their social proof.
Yeah, it's social proof, values alignment. And I think that it's particularly timely as you're talking about figure out what environment folks need in order to thrive.
Mhm.
We just saw people called back into offices, and I'm not gonna complain. I mean, folks have been going to work since the day before forever. However, I'm not gonna act as though this is just normal business when you have people that have been working remotely for 5 years. You know, there are people who have been working remotely for 5 years, and they finally got a rhythm with their family, with their home dynamic. You know, they figured out a way to make sure that they can work and make sure that they're present at their kids' sports, at their kids' games, or at their performing arts performances, right? Their theater performances or dance or whatever the case may be, right? And going back into the office, while a reasonable person might say, okay, you know, we do what we have to do, it's still it's still something to be said about the fact that this is indeed a transition. So I work as a fractional fundraiser, and one of the things that's particularly important to me if I'm working with a new co-conspirator, a new nonprofit organization, is, you know, what is the expectation, right? Or if I were in market, it would be very important to me to only go up for opportunities that suit my interests. Which, you know, I'm not interested in being in an office every day.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not interested. I've done that for about 20 some odd years.
Mm-hmm.
And frankly, I don't have to work that way, and I'm not. Right. So, you know, looking for that remote opportunity if you want a remote job, you know, negotiating terms and conditions. I mean, I'm even thinking about the workplace culture for people like me who are trying to own and get command of their day, because I don't do back-to-back Zoom meetings. I have a policy against that. So for me, I want to ask questions, you know, to understand how folks navigate their schedules, you know, how folks can how they feel about folks prioritizing focus time. Because
Mm-hmm.
as a fundraiser, I'm not only responsible for hunting and gathering, right, potential donors and folks that'll bring revenue or contribute revenue to the organization, but I'm also tasked with fulfillment, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and making sure that these friends and supporters have really, really great experiences with us and that they're heard and they're appropriately stewarded. So I can't just be lead generating, right? And, you know, make stewardship and relationship building and proposal writing and all of these different things that I have to do an afterthought. No, I like to carve out focus time so that I can pace myself and schedule that focus time, and that it's respected that I'm working in focus time, and that when I'm in focus time, I'm not able to accept meetings. So how democratized or democratic is the culture when it comes to planning meetings? I'm not necessarily asking that, but I definitely want to know, you know, what the organization's position is, you know, when it comes to balancing the nuance and the demands of the role, you know, for focus time, for meetings with donors, for time for white space, you know, those kinds of things. What do you think? What do you say to that?
I
Those
say
are
that,
really important to me.
yeah, I say that that goes back to knowing what's important to you and knowing what you want in an organization. When you start there with the ultimate clarity of all the things that are important to you, you will know what questions to ask when you get into an interview. I think it's also important for one of the questions that I think is important to ask. What is it okay to talk to some of the current employees or some of the current team members? I love to have like a 15-minute conversation with them to get an understanding of what their work experience is. And if it's important to you, you want to ask for a person of color, you want to ask for a woman or a male if that's important to you. So again, you have to know what's important to you. Not all of us, people of color, care
Not all of us care.
Right. What the experience is like, because there are some people who can just thrive in any
Absolutely.
organization and they can just have their head down and just be fine.
And just zone out. Yeah, and I am not one of those people. These things
Right.
are, these contextual factors are very, very important to me. And the reason these are so important to me is because for 25 years, for about 22 of those years, I've been working in organizations, and the nature of this work as a frontline fundraiser, right? Tapping into networks of people. And my experience has been that my highest net worth donors have been white folks, you
Mhm.
know? And with that, you look at that wealth, you look at that power dynamic, right? I've had some really not so stellar experiences where implicit biases rear their ugly head, you know, and I'm being microaggressed. I'm being confronted about things like my earring choices, my color, you know. I might want to wear a blouse like this as
Mhm.
opposed to wearing a white blouse. These are considered long fingernails to
Mhm.
certain folks, you know, some folks. You know, it's important for me, and more often than not, for Black fundraisers in this space, particularly Black women,
Mhm.
because 9 times out of 10, I'm talking Black women onto the ledge or off the ledge because they're having some really funky experiences within these workplaces, right?
Yeah.
And it's because they are being expected to assimilate and blend in to a culture that doesn't really bring out those first fruits in them, those skills, those talents, you know. And this was an important conversation to have because I really want the audience, whoever's watching this, if you're watching this, to come up with your punch list of questions regarding what's important to you. What are those things that you want to know? I don't care if you write a list and you run it through Chat GPT just to refine your list, because I want to know some stuff. I want to know if I'm going to be reporting into a vice president of development or a vice president of philanthropy or advancement. I want to know when I'm talking to that person, right? What is their meaning? What is their leadership style? I want to know that. Are you collaborative? Do you welcome pivots? Do you welcome suggestions, you know, for innovation and new strategy? You know, because I want to know, are you going to be rolling your eyes because I'm innovative? This mind that I got is always doing like this. You know, is it going to be annoying to you, or are you going to be like, oh, yeah, she's in her bag? You know,
Mhm.
I want to know, does the CEO consider himself or herself or themselves? You know, whether we got a leader that's non-binary or whether we have co-directors. I want to know, do they consider themselves fundraisers? How do they view, what is their regard, or how do they view fundraising? You know, do they believe that it's part of their job, or are they like, okay, you know, y'all got that, you know, it's not my strong suit? Can they be leveraged as part of particular funding request? Are they comfortable with that? Do I need to tee, should I be expecting to tee them up, you know, when it comes to an ask? Or should I expect them to, you know, bring what they're comfortable with? Which in some cases, I've had CEOs that were great when it comes to institutional history, when it comes to mission, values, impacts. They pull you in, but put them in front of somebody to make an ask, to
Mhm.
ask for some money, and they're not comfortable doing that. So I want to understand what my mantle is going to look like in this role? Am I the closer in most situations, all situations, or to be determined, right? These are things that I want to know when it comes to proposal iterations and, content, you know, creative messaging and things like that. Is there a certain nomenclature that we use? Is there certain words we don't use? Because in this anti-DE&I white lash that we're seeing play out, it's a lot of organizations calling on me and asking, well, can we still say black? Can we still say brown? These are things that I want to know. And some people might think it's extra, but nope. I'm my Shannon Sharp. Nope. I want to know. I want
Well,
to know.
those are important because those are rules of engagement, if you will. And so that is how you will proceed with carrying out the duties of your role. So it is important that you know those things. And most importantly, it's important for you to know if those things matter to you. So if you can't say that we serve brown and black people in the organization when in fact that you do, and it is important for you that the organization that you work for serve brown and black people, then you have to make a decision. Is this the right place for me? Because I can't outwardly say what's important to me. So we have to be very clear for ourselves first. And we have to know what is a boundary for us and what is not a boundary for us. And we have to make those decisions for ourselves. Oftentimes we get a job working for an organization, and maybe we like the work that we do, but all of the other things around it we are unhappy about. There are times when we will sit in that and try to change the organization. That is not a feasible path.
That never works.
Organization is the organization. So you have to determine whether or not it is time for you to move along to another organization, or if that organization is willing to make changes because they understand the value of it, then you have to decide, okay, is it worth it for me to stay here to help change this organization, or am I going to sit here with my head down and do the work that I love doing because I can deal with the other stuff? So we have to remember that we are always in control. We are always in a position to make a decision that is best for us professionally, whether we like the decision or not.
Yeah, and I also want to really, really briefly touch on something. I think that that's really important to note, that there are some elements and factors that are in our control. I can't control whether an employer hires me if I'm in market looking for a role, but I can certainly do my best to interview this employer for what could possibly be a good place for me or a not so stellar place for me, a place where, I feel like my wings are clipped. So I think that's important. And I just want to take a moment and recap on a couple of the things that you shared with the good people out there, the good people listening. Number one, you heard it from Dr. Slater, know what type of culture you thrive in. Good people listening, know what type of culture you thrive in. If you thriving after having been home for 5 years, and you thrive best in a remote work environment, you might not want to go and sign up to work in a brick and mortar every day. I know we do what we got to do sometimes. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not telling nobody not to do what they got to do. But what I'm simply saying is heed Dr. Slater's guidance and know what kind of culture you thrive in. And we're not just talking about, work arrangements, whether it's remote, hybrid, whatever that defines, however you define that list, whatever's important to you. Number two, check the social media for your potential employer. Take a little gander. What are folks saying? How are folks engaging? Right? And number three, we want to, put our investigative hat on. And, you can ask if it's okay to speak with employees, but you also don't have to ask. If you can connect with people on LinkedIn, ask for a quick coffee chat, 5 minutes, tell them you're looking at the role, you're considering applying, would they be interested in speaking with you, off record, just on their experience. Folks will tell you the real. Folks will tell you the real when they don't feel like they've been on the spot. In fact, I might prefer to reach out to, some folks rather than to have folks handpicked to talk to me for a reason. I heed you when you say talk to folks, right? And the last thing that I added here was, you said it, define your rules of engagement, and craft questions accordingly. Even if you just write what's important to you and ask Chat GPT or AI, whatever you use, to help you flesh out that line of questioning, in a way that you're comfortable asking. And the last thing we want to share is remember you in control. You got more agency than you think. And I want to add another one. Trust your intuition.
Absolutely.
If you want to call it your gut, if you want to call it the Holy Spirit, whatever you want to call it, trust it. If something is not jiving with you, your spirit, it don't have to make sense to anybody else. As long as it makes sense to you, listen to that intuition. And, I want to turn it back over to you, Dr. Slater, and ask you, do you have any parting words for the good people listening, or you want to tell folks where they can find you? What you got for the good people out there?
Well, I'd love for the good people to follow us on all social media, hrtailormade.com, and go to our website, hrtailormade.com, for any nonprofit leaders or small business owners that may be listening, and download our onboarding checklist and sign up for our newsletter. We tend to send out some really good information. And in terms of those philanthropic leaders that are listening, I think it's really important that we choose joy. We all deserve to have work that brings us joy, and we deserve to work with a group and team of people that expect the same. So be in control of your joy and don't let anybody steal it from you.
Amen, amen, and amen. If I had a church, listen, amen. You just missed your shout. If you didn't shout, you just missed it. And I'm a church girl, so I might shout when we get out of here. But until next time, good people, you know how to find Dr. Tiffany Slater, and you know how to find us. Follow me at Kia Croom on most social media platforms. And if you talk to me, I will talk back. And just like that, folks, we're out of
You
here.
in a position very few people have been in. Now we on the money mission. We on the money mission. If they didn't listen, then they didn't have the vision. Cool, we on the money mission. We on the money mission. Get your money up, money up, money up, money up, money up. Get your money up, money up, money up, money up, money up. Get your money up, money up, money up, money up, money up. Get your oars. in a position very few people have been in. Now we on the money mission. We on the money mission. If they didn't listen, then they didn't have the vision. Cool, we on the money mission. We on the money mission. Get your money up, money up, money up, money up, money up. Get your money up, money up, money up, money up, money up. Get your money up, money up, money up, money up, money up. Get your